Hey everybody, Matt with Q4Launch here. We are excited you're tuning in for today's webinar, 7 strategies to increase bookings quickly after the COVID rebound. The rebound is well underway in many markets. We're going to dive into a lot of data today, as well as share some marketing strategies with you. So thanks for tuning in. I hope today's video is super helpful for you in planning your marketing strategy and rebounding. If there's anything we can do to help, please get in touch with us. We'd love to talk to you about helping you with your marketing if you're not one of our customers. If you are, we've already been in touch with many of the strategies we're going to talk about in today's webinar, and we're well underway working on those things for you. So excited by the data we're seeing on this recovery from COVID and hoping that it means you'll save a great summer in your destination. Thanks and enjoy the video. Let's dive into our topic today, 7 strategies to increase bookings quickly after COVID. And I say after COVID because in many of our markets, we are seeing a tremendous wave of bookings that's coming in. If you do follow our series on a regular basis, the Q4Launch educational series, you may have heard me talk about a webinar I did about a month ago, or a video we put out to the industry. And I talked about a surfing analogy where I said that I believe there was going to be a wave of bookings that crashes quickly on the back end of coronavirus. I talked about the fact that there's really 2 surfers, right? There's the surfer that sits on the beach and they watch as they drink their morning coffee. It's a little chilly. They're not quite ready to get in the water. They're not sure. They're going to watch the waves and figure things out. And then there's the surfers who are out there. They're in the water. They're in their wetsuit. They're paddling around. Conditions might not be just right. They might be unsure. There might be sharks in the water. Who really knows? But they're out in the water. They're experiencing it. They're able to feel what's going on in the marketplace by being in the water. And when that wave starts to come, it pushes their board a little bit, and they notice those small movements. And by noticing those small movements, they're able to start paddling to get in the perfect position to catch that wave. And I use that analogy to represent a month ago what I thought was going to happen in the vacation rental industry when a wave of bookings, the bookings we should have been getting over the last 45 days, the bookings that have been canceled and would be rebookings, as well as all the talk about travel, all the people that are so tired of being at home and just want to go travel. Our friends at Navis, I think, used the term revenge travel, that they're so frustrated being home, they're going to travel when maybe they wouldn't have. That those 3 audiences are going to come together and create a wave of bookings that will crash in each market at a different time based on when your market's reopening and some of those things, but would crash in your market. And my encouragement to you then was you need to be marketing through coronavirus, through this opportunity. And if you haven't seen that video, go back. You can check that out on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Q4Launch, where we shared some ideas on how to do that. We're going to share some ideas with you today on what we're seeing actually happening in many marketplaces now. But I talked about continuing to market, and if you do that, you'll be in the best position to catch that wave. Now, 30 days later, we have data that actually proves my hypothesis was true. We're going to share a little bit about that data with you today. But no matter where you are, maybe you decided to sit it out and take a more cautious approach and sit on the beach. Or maybe you've been in the water marketing the whole time and you're already catching this wave. Or maybe you're in a destination like California or Hawaii who hasn't quite got there yet, and this wave hasn't come to your marketplace, although you're very familiar in those markets with the surfing analogy I used. But we're going to unpack that with you today. The key there is there's a wave of bookings coming. We can show you that data. We can prove that all day long now that we're on the other side of this in many marketplaces, and we're going to talk about which markets we're seeing what. But diving into that with you so far. So a little bit on the data we're seeing so far. And I will say I'm going to share a lot of data today. And by no means is this an exhaustive list. We represent a little over 200 customers in many different markets. I analyzed a ton of data to prepare for this today, but I can't do the data justice, and I can't give you an exhaustive list. So you may be in a market, what you need to do is analyze this for yourself. You may be in a market I don't mention today and be seeing great results. Or you may be in a market I'm saying is seeing great results and you're not, which probably means something is wrong with your marketing, and you need to think about that. But take what I say today in context and then apply it and analyze your own data to turn it into actionable items for you. So right now, we are seeing incredibly strong rebounds, record booking kind of rebounds in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Ohio, Michigan, parts of New York, Texas, probably many other states. But if you look at what's consistent across those states, is they've all started the process of reopening at some level. I know many other states have started the process of reopening as well that aren't on that list. Maybe because I just didn't look at data in your state, but maybe you're seeing similar things in your state. But we are seeing a incredibly strong rebound in those marketplaces. We're also seeing the rebound come on stronger with traffic and bookings increasing at 2 to 3x year over year in the last few weeks. And that shows that release of pent-up demand, a huge wave of bookings crashing in the last 2 to 3 weeks in those markets. As you're analyzing this data for yourself, I would encourage you to view year over year for different periods of time to understand how this has impacted you, but also period over period. So look at year over year and then look at this 2 weeks versus the prior 2 weeks, this 30 days versus the prior 30 days. Typically, we like to look at data year over year because it helps us really analyze what's going on and how to remove seasonality from the equation. In this case, because coronavirus wasn't last year, you also need to be looking at period over period data, week over week or 2 weeks over 2 weeks style data. So use that information and apply it to your market to really be able to figure out what's going on in your market and what you need to be doing as a result of that. I promised some strategies we're going to get into as well, but we wanted to set some housekeeping items up for you first. The other thing we're seeing here is that timing is key. It specifically seems to be starting with an announcement from your governor of a phased reopening. That's what we're seeing so far. The governor comes out, makes an announcement of a phased reopening, and for about the next week, we see a strong increase in traffic to our customers' websites start. So think about your own state, think about where you are in that process. Maybe your governor's made that announcement, maybe he or she hasn't, but that's really where things begin to start from a traffic perspective. We see that immediate increase in site traffic after that announcement. Bookings then start to follow in the second week and gain strength in weeks 3 and 4. So that's kind of the timing that we're seeing so far. So you need to think about this timing. Timing is so key here because you need to think about that timing. Think about when your governor may make that announcement if he hasn't already, or if he has already, where maybe you are in the timing of this, at least what we're seeing across the data that we have. And then there's an extremely strong acceleration in bookings that occurs when your destination can actually welcome guests. So bookings start to happen really strong when your governor announces that things are going to start reopening, but they accelerate even more so when your destination is actually open for business again and you're able to welcome guests. So that timing is really key, and I would almost try to work from that estimated date that your governor will make that announcement if they haven't yet, and then build your strategy accordingly. The other thing that we're seeing is that the stronger marketing was throughout the pandemic, the people that stayed in the water, the stronger and faster the rebound. I know many people have cut marketing costs, have cut marketing spend, and I don't fault you for doing that. It was definitely a panic mode of this is gonna look like, what's it gonna happen. All I can tell you now is the people that did not do that, the people that stayed the course from a marketing perspective, at least what we see in our customer data of over 200 people, the ones that stayed the course and marketed well through the pandemic are accelerating out of this. The people that decided to scale their marketing back or pause their marketing are still having great success right now, but they're not nearly having the level of success that those that went all the way through it strong. And we have customers in the same market that I can show that data for. So it's one thing to compare that market to market and be like, oh, maybe there's destination or there's market bias there. But we can see that and compare that year over year with people in the same market. Can't share that data with you right now, but we are seeing that and tracking that. So if you're in a destination, my takeaway for you, you can't go back and change the past, but if you're in a destination that is not open yet, you need to start marketing. Even if you're not open yet, start marketing, because the sooner you start, the sooner and the stronger results you're going to see. Maybe you're in a destination and your marketing is still on pause. Really consider unpausing that and reopening that, even if your destination is still slow. Because we are seeing crazy results, unbelievable results, what I believe once in a lifetime style results in this period of time from a bookings perspective. We also know the rebound, or we're starting to see with some of our customers in the destinations that are rebounding the strongest, that the rebound appears stronger than the loss. So the loss of bookings, and while you can't get back the people that were supposed to stay in that period of time, the cancellations, the loss of traffic, the loss of bookings, The rebound is actually outpacing that. So when we look at March 15th for most of our customers was the date that traffic dropped off. And you need to look in your analytics and find that date in your own data. But that's the date we see most often when things really significantly started to decline from a traffic perspective. But when we look at March 15th through May 11th, that's the last date of data last full set of data we have in filming this for you. March 15th through May 11th, when we look at that period of time, year over year, we are actually ahead in most cases of where we were 2019. So even with coronavirus in there, March 15th really through April 15th in many markets, and then starting to see it rebound after that, but a month of really bad data, even with that in there, many of the data sets we're looking at are showing that the rebound is stronger than the loss. It has more than offset the loss at this point, and we expect that trend to just get stronger. And there's an example we'll throw up on the screen here that shows you that things were a little bit flat. This was an example we pulled specifically because it was showing 2019 or 2020 over 2019 was a little bit flat, and then you see the decline caused by coronavirus, and then you see this unbelievable release of pent-up demand that really starts happening mid-April but goes crazy strong the end of April, beginning of May. And I share that visual with you because it's important to say I think that this virus, while it has been devastating for many of us, and I don't want to downplay it at all, I think it has actually created more travelers than we had before. And we may find ourselves in a better place than we were before on the backside of this, because people that may not have taken a trip, or they might have taken a smaller trip or a shorter trip, are searching for travel now because they've just got to get out of their house. You know, they could deal with their day-to-day and maybe skip a vacation this year, but now that they've been at home, working from home, homeschooling, doing all those things all day, every day, not going to their favorite restaurants, not getting that reprieve, they're taking a trip, even if they weren't before. And the data is showing that the demand is stronger than it was before. And I think that's a huge opportunity for us in the industry if we're positioning ourselves and marketing well to capture that. At the same part of that, Google organic traffic, Google paid traffic or Google ads, and email marketing tend to be driving some of the strongest parts of the recovery. So they're the marketing mediums we're seeing driving the strongest part of booking recovery. So as you're thinking about where do I lean in, those are important parts to definitely be leaning into. So a lot of data, a lot of information there. We're gonna move forward now with our 7 strategies to increase bookings quickly after COVID. And this is supposed to be a workshop session. We were supposed to do a workshop together in person, so we're gonna do our best to pull that off from a virtual experience. So I'm gonna, at the end of each strategy, I'm gonna say pause. And there's a workbook in the virtual learning experience, in the classroom experience. You can download the workbook we've put together for you and customize for this, and you can fill that out as we move through each strategy. So a couple ways you can do that. One, and what I'd encourage you to do, after I talk about each strategy, hit pause on the video and go through that part of the workbook. Do the workbook part of that, and you'll get a richer experience, and we'll provide a way in this recording for you to do that. Just to hit pause, work on your workbook. The other thing you can do, and it might feel a little more awkward to watch the video this way because I'm gonna create space for those pauses, is to watch the video all the way through and come back and do your workbook at a separate time. I don't think you'll get as much out of it if you do it that way, but you can certainly do that. Whatever works best for you in your learning environment and the time you have available. But pair the content today with the workbook, and you'll turn this into something that's very actionable for you in your marketing. So just a little tip, and if you're watching this and wonder why we keep saying pause, that's why. You missed the workbook part of this, and go back, download that workbook in the learning environment provided by VRMA for you. All right, let's dive in. Strategy number 1, redevelop your target market. On the back end of coronavirus, you may find that your target market is a little bit different. We're seeing much of our marketing working the same as it did before, but at the same point, we're telling a different story in marketing, and we're thinking about our target market a little bit differently than we have in the past. So redevelop your target market. Your past guests have always been part of your target market, but they are the most important part of a successful rebound after coronavirus. Your past guests are the people most likely to book with you. If you followed our content in the past, you've heard me say your past guests are the most valuable people you have because they're the most likely to book with you and the most likely to spend more money, meaning they're the most valuable guests that you can have, the most profitable guests that you can have. So find new ways to reach those past guests. There's been a lot of conversation as well about drive market guests. and the opportunity to reach drive market guests, and that people may be timid to fly on the back end of this. I know that that's true for our family. You know, I was talking to my wife about planning a trip here at the end of May and talking about where to go, and in another trip in August. And we're on that place of like, yeah, we're definitely taking a drive market trip in May. Going to take another drive market trip in June. Actually, a trip we were going to fly for that we've decided to drive for. So taking the same trip, but we're going to drive there instead of fly. Pray for us with 2 kids in the car on that trip. We're going to make it. It's going to be a long drive, but we're going to make it. But then a trip we had planned with some friends in August. Now we're kind of like, okay, that's definitely a fly trip because it's to an island, definitely not driving there. But now that trip's a little bit up in question. So unpacking and changing, like, who is your target market as drive versus fly is changing things. And think about, okay, maybe I've gotten a lot of my business from fly market, from fly-in customers in the past. How am I going to target drive market customers more aggressively in this season to make sure I'm going after them? I would also encourage you to call all guests who canceled bookings during coronavirus with a rebooking offer. Call and ask them to rebook. Talk to them, update them about what's going on. If the list is too large, if you're at a larger company, email that list. Send a very specific email just to that list to bring them back. I think you will see a lot of rebooking opportunities with that list. So a new target market that's developed for you inside of this is those people. We've got those people that would have booked and didn't. We've got those people that did book but had to cancel. And those people that now want to travel because they have not gone anywhere for the last 45 days and are getting a little bit crazy. I know this trip at the end of May is actually a trip that we hadn't scheduled, but we're getting a little bit tired of being at home. And we're scheduling this trip to break out of that space. We're actually going to stay with one of our customers in the mountains. So thank them for offering for us to come stay. So excited about that. But that's a new trip we weren't going to take. And again, just proves at a small micro level that point that people are taking trips they wouldn't have otherwise taken because they're tired of being home for the last 45 to 60 days. All right, so take a quick pause here. This is your chance to pause. I'm gonna make a bigger deal out of it this first time. Take a chance to pause, go through your workbook and think about, how might I redevelop my target market? Am I drive market? Am I fly market? What percentage of my business comes from each of those places? Look that up in your analytics. Look that up in your PMS booking data. Figure out that part of your data to understand what percentage of your business comes from each of those sources, and then think about how are you going to redevelop your target market. Quick pause, consult your workbook, unpause the video whenever you're ready. We'll see you in just a few minutes. All right, welcome back from our pause. If you watched straight through, it was a little bit awkward because I just sat here quietly. But hopefully you found some time to actually make a productive use of that. You hit pause, you went through your target market, you thought through that, you redeveloped that, you talked to some of your staff about that, you got some ideas now to think about that. Strategy number 2, pre-develop your messaging. Earlier I talked about timing is so key, timing is so important. And if you wait until your governor announces that, and then you sit around with your staff or your marketing agency and you talk about what that might look like and what you need to do, it's gonna take a week, 2 weeks to develop that messaging, you're going to miss an opportunity to really be able to do that. So have those conversations now if your market's not open yet, if that announcement hasn't come in your state yet. Have those conversations now. Pre-develop your messaging, have that ready to go. We don't know, it's difficult to predict when each market's going to reopen. We can't do that, right? We represent over 200 customers from Singapore to Maui. I almost said Malaysia. I was like, that's not right. From Singapore to Maui, we represent customers in that spectrum. So basically the entire world. So it's very difficult to know when each of those markets is going to reopen. But what we can do and what we have done with our customers is pre-develop that message. So, and I'm going to kind of walk through how to do that here in just a minute. Actually, strategy number 3, spoiler alert, is going to be how to lay that out for yourself. But pre-develop this messaging. So when that announcement comes, you've got it ready to go. You've got it loaded, and you can just release that marketing, release that messaging, and have success. Versus now, your market's opening back up for business, the phone is ringing again, your website's busy, bookings are coming in, and all of a sudden you find yourself busy again, and you don't have time to pre-develop that messaging. There may also need to be some software changes that you make. You might need to put new software in place to do this. One of the things we hear most often from vacation rental managers is that they're not doing email marketing well or not doing it very frequently. And email marketing is absolutely going to be a critical part of reaching your past guests in this reopening style campaign. So get software in place if you don't have that in place. Get any partnerships in place that you need. Maybe you're not sure. Maybe all this has revealed that the marketing partnership you're in is really not the right partner. Or maybe you had to lay off or furlough part of your staff. What partnerships do you need to market successfully? We are seeing a lot of people making changes in partnerships right now. We're onboarding more customers in the last 2 weeks than we've onboarded, not all year, but a significantly higher percentage considering it's over a 2-week period, because people are looking to make changes in this period of time and a lot of activity is happening. So a lot is happening, a lot of partnerships are changing. You need to think about, what partnerships do I need in place to make this successful and get this messaging in place. Take this time to clean up your database as well. Clean up any junk email addresses in there, spam traps that might be in your email database. Clean that up. Get a cleaner database to work with going forward, which will help your marketing all work better. And then track your state and neighboring states for reopening timing. Track your state and neighboring states for reopening timing. As much as possible, you want to be able to know a couple days ahead of time when that announcement is going to be made, so you can respond accordingly as part of that. So strategy number 2, pre-develop your messaging. We're going to take another pause, and what I want you to think through here is, what software do you need to execute on this? And maybe you wait till the end of this to actually best answer that question. What partnerships are in place that you need, or are not in place that you need? Do you need to make a change in any of those partnerships? Is my database ready to go? Where do I think I am on that reopening timeline? Answer those questions for yourself. Consult your workbook, unpack that, and come back when you're ready. Hit unpause, and we'll continue the video here together. All right, welcome back. Coming off of that, you've thought through, what do I need to do differently? What changes do I need to make? What software do I need to put in place? What partnerships do I need to think through? All right, strategy number 3, and there's going to be a lot here. There's a lot in your workbook related to this one, so it's definitely a lot to capture in. Honestly, just this one probably could have been my whole presentation. But this is called hit the ground running. And when this whole thing started, and we had some customers pausing things, different things, we're like, what do we do with our extra time? One of the things that came out of some of our team's brainstorms was, we want to make sure our customers are well positioned on the backside of this. So we're going to use this period of time where things are a little bit slower to create all of the messaging and campaigns we want to do on the backside of this thing. So really took number 2 and fast-tracked it for ourselves. So this is all ready and loaded for many of our customers. No matter when they're ready to come back online, we've got the messaging loaded up, ready to go. We call them internally our hit the ground running campaigns, and making sure our customers were positioned to catch that wave of bookings I talked about. So here's just a little bit about what our hit the ground running campaigns have looked like with our customers, and with our customers who are reopening already, we're seeing tremendous success with these. First, develop a special offer to drive bookings when and where you need them. So this is a little bit different for everybody, but I would say consult your pace report, look at different periods of time, think about when you need bookings. For example, if you're reopening right now, you may need bookings in the next 2 weeks, and you may have a really strong offer for the next 2 weeks. You may not need bookings for June and July because you already had your June and July sold out. Hopefully you didn't have a lot of cancellations yet for that period, and you're in a great position with June and July. So you don't need a special offer for that. So really look at your pace reports, look at those different date ranges and say, okay, where do I need bookings? When do I need bookings? And develop a special offer to line up to that. As you're developing that special offer, develop a dedicated landing page to match your offer and include everything someone needs to know. Think about, and we're going to talk about this one a little bit later on, but think about what would prevent someone from booking. Think about the questions that guests are going to have on the backside of this. Cleaning procedures, what's open, what's not, what restaurants, takeout options, all these questions people would have. As best as you can, answer questions for people, because the more uncertainty you can remove, the more fear you can remove from the equation, the more bookings you're going to get. So create that dedicated landing page to match your offer and answer as many questions for people as you can. Then create an email sequence, an email marketing sequence designed to educate and drive confidence in bookings. My recommendation for this is 2 to 4 emails sent in quick succession. So 2 to 4 emails sent over the period of a couple weeks, really designed to build your brand, be personal. We talked about that in the webinar that's on our YouTube channel, where we talked about how to market in, through, and out of crisis. Be personal, get personal with your guests. Be personal and put that special offer in front of them with email marketing. So use that to reach your past guests, that oh so important audience, to booking success on the backside of this. Make sure you're creating social media messages that match that. So take those email marketing campaigns you're putting together and turn them into bite-sized chunks you can put out in social media. You might even pre-schedule those posts, although that's hard if you don't know when your market's going to reopen. But if nothing else, you can certainly put them in an Excel spreadsheet and copy and paste them with some great images in there. But you've done this work in advance is the point. Consider boosting these as well, especially to your followers, because it's an important audience. We want to get our message out very quickly to that group of people that is most likely to book with us. So consider boosting these posts to your followers. Add a pop-up or banner on your website promoting that special as well, and make sure that your website is communicating what's going on, what you're doing, how you're responding to those to the coronavirus situation. Educate, educate, educate. It's so important in this time of unknowns. And then add promotion extensions to Google Ads. We're going to talk more in depth about Google Ads in a few minutes, but Google Ads is providing bookings and return on ad spend at levels I have never seen before in my life as a digital marketer. And I have spent my entire life, my entire professional life doing digital marketing. We are seeing return on ad spend right now unlike anything I have ever seen. And we're going to dive deeper into that in a few minutes. But add promotion extensions to your Google Ads promoting those specials. So we're going to take a few minutes. This is an important break, might be a little bit longer here, but take a few minutes. We're going to hit pause the video, and spend some time in your workbook really thinking through that. This one you're probably going to have to circle back to a couple times to really create all this content. Could be a lot of content, but push pause, start working on developing this content for your Hit the Ground Running campaign to make sure you're catching that wave of bookings on the back end of coronavirus. All right, everybody, welcome back from pause on strategy number 3, creating your Hit the Ground Running campaign. There's a lot of information packed in there. I hope it was helpful. I encourage you to come back to that and really turn all that into actual content that you're going to use in your marketing strategy. All right, strategy number 4, ramp up search engine marketing and pay-per-click. Just a few minutes ago, I said we are seeing unprecedented record return on ad spend across our customer base. And I know many of our customers put their Google ads on pause or significantly reduced budgets throughout the coronavirus. If you are still on pause, it is absolutely time. It is past time. You've already missed probably a tremendous opportunity to come off pause with your ad campaigns. We are seeing bookings like I have never seen, return on ad spend like I have never seen across our customer base. Like we're taking their best day ever and doubling it or tripling it in many cases, or their best week ever and doubling it and tripling it. Return on ad spends that were good before are off the charts insane good now. So good that it's like I can't even demo them because the bar of the expectation is so high that we'll never be able to get back to this again. But what's happening is so many of the large OTAs, Vrbo, Airbnb, Expedia, Booking.com, many of your competitors, probably even you, if you use Google Ads, have paused their campaigns. And as of us shooting this video, many of them remain on pause. So the demand for these clicks has gone down significantly. At the same time, the supply has started to increase, meaning more people are searching again, and we can get clicks really, really cheap. So we are getting clicks cheaper than we've ever gotten them before. And this release, at the same point we're getting them cheaper than we've ever got them before, e-commerce conversion rates are increasing because we're releasing all this pent-up demand from the last 45 days. So it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel right now to a certain extent. Sorry for any animal rights activists, not literally shooting fish in a barrel, but you get what I'm saying. Like there is this opportunity we've never seen before. And if you're not doing Google ads, maybe you've never done them, contact us. We would love to help you get started because we're seeing crazy data. If you are doing it and you're not seeing crazy numbers, you need to check what's going on in your campaigns. We see more people with Google ad campaigns set up poorly probably than any other marketing medium, partially because it's more complex than most other marketing mediums. But when done well, it can drive so much booking activity for you and such a high return on ad spend. So review your ads performance now. Take this time, especially if you're in a market that has not reopened and has not seen that wave of bookings, and review it. We would love to help you with that. Just get in touch with us. We'll help you just spend 10-15 minutes reviewing the data and helping you understand, are your ads working or not, and have they historically worked or not. Most times they're not working well for people when we look at them, and you need to make a change there. Adjusting accordingly in line with your target market. So take that information from your target market and strategy number one and tweak your ads. If you need to lean heavily drive market right now, change the geographic targeting of your ads to focus on those things. So many changes can be made to make your ads work harder. Also, reconsider your budget in light of your current bookings pace. If you find yourself behind pace because of bookings you lost and cancellations and everything else, you may need to reconsider your budget. Maybe it was going to be X for the month of May or June. Maybe it needs to be 2X now or 3X now. Look at those pace reports and let those things impact the budgeting decisions that you're making. There's some graphics we'll put up on the screen for you just to show you a few examples. By no means are these cherry-picked of our best examples. These are actually not our best examples. I specifically didn't include them because they are so insanely off the charts that it just seems like a fairy tale almost. But a few examples of what we're seeing across the Southeast right now. We're going to show Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. We're seeing similar things in Texas, Ohio, Michigan, many other states. The Outer Banks right now is insane from a booking perspective. Like, the bookings are happening in huge ways. This is just a small sample of data, but this is a huge opportunity. If you need to capture bookings coming off of this, and there's probably nothing more relevant to the topic than this one. This can help you capture bookings quickly. We have two new customers that just launched campaigns in the last 2 days. Both of them saw bookings within their first 2 days of their campaigns going live. One has already seen $10,000 of bookings in the first 2 days. We don't typically see things ramp that quickly, and I don't want to set an expectation that your ads campaign should ramp that quickly. It takes a while to learn and Google's algorithms to do their thing and for the ads to get smarter. Usually we see a pretty significant increase in performance over about the first 90 days of a campaign, and then constantly tweaking those campaigns to get them working harder and harder. But you need to monitor this. You need to know what's going on in your ads. I'll tell you that as I look at data, the average industry return on ad spend that I see in Google Ads, in Google Analytics, is a 3 to 5x. So I spend $1 on Google Ads, I get $3 to $5 back in bookings. And I'm just talking e-commerce data. I'm not talking commission-adjusted numbers because you can't get commission-adjusted numbers inside of analytics. Knowing that for most vacation rental managers, if they're getting a 3 to 5x return on ad spend, they're actually losing money when they factor in their commission-adjusted numbers. We're working towards, and what we see with our customers, typically, January and February, we were seeing a 10x average return on ad spend across our customer base. The first 2 weeks of March, we had a 12x average return on ad spend across our customer base. That average is now, I'm not even going to quote an average because it's changing so fast every day, but it is blowing those numbers away from what we're seeing right now. So a couple takeaways from that. The opportunity's unlike it's ever been before, and know what your return on ad spend is and make a change if you're not performing well. Was talking to a vacation manager just the other day, spending $250,000 a year on Google Ads, and they were seeing a 2x return on ad spend and didn't even know that actually meant they were losing money because of the commission adjustment on that. So don't let that be you. Don't fall in that trap. Look at your ads, review them, and make changes. And if you can't figure out how to do that, reach out for help. We will be happy to spend 10 minutes with you and help you unpack what's going on and get to those real numbers in your Google Ads. All right, let's keep moving along. We're going to take a pause, just reminding myself, we're going to take a pause for you to take a few minutes, get in your Google Analytics, look at what your return on ad spend is, consult your workbook, spend a few minutes there, and make some notes to yourself. Use your workbook in this time. Come back to us after you've had a chance to do that. Get in analytics, figure out return on ad spend, as well as look at the workbook we put together for you to help you unpack that. All right, welcome back from the pause there on strategy number 4, looking at your Google Ads. Hopefully you're able to dive into analytics, pull out that return on ad spend. If you weren't, certainly reach out for help. We can get you that information very quickly as we look at your Google Ads together, your Google Analytics together. All right, let's dive in now to strategy number 5. This is something we saw trending a lot at the beginning of coronavirus. And Fox News, Fox Business actually ran an article that said gift certificates are the new war bonds. And I thought that was a great statement. We were already doing a lot of gift certificate campaigns and travel vouchers with customers to try to generate revenue in a period where they weren't otherwise receiving revenue. But there's been a tremendous amount of these type of campaigns, and we've really figured out a good system for running these, and they've been very, very successful for many of our customers. So here's a few tips on how to do these well. We're going to show you a quick screenshot of a landing page we built on our future-proof platform to help do this. But here's some tips on how to do these and do them well. One, gift certificates or vouchers ensure that guests stay with you for future dates, right? So marketing to your past guests, enabling them to buy a war bond to support the small business, which is on the front line of this war against coronavirus in the financial sense. So these war bonds enable customers to support your business, and then they ensure that the guest is going to stay with you. So if your guests are going to take a trip this summer, they might have come to your destination, they might have gone to a different destination, they might have booked your property or booked a different property, but loyal guests will buy these vouchers, these gift certificates at a discount. They're getting a discount on their future stay, you're getting cash flow now. This probably is going to work better for those customers whose states are not already reopened and you're not taking full-on bookings and welcoming guests right now. But it's a great way to ensure someone will stay with you for a future date. They also generate great goodwill and give your customer base the opportunity to support your business. We've seen a ton of great social media interaction around these as well. Past guest stories being shared on social media, well wishes being shared with email marketing. So those things may not necessarily help you from a financial perspective, but they definitely help you from an emotional perspective. And let's all be honest, the emotional part of this crisis has been as dramatic as anything else for sure, as the economic part of it. So here's a few quick elements of a strong gift certificate campaign or flash sale style campaign that can help you. One, a multi-channel promotion strategy. So make sure that you have website messaging to support it, email marketing to support it, social media plans, Google ad extensions, etc., etc., etc. As you plan all of this, much like your hit the ground running campaign, you need to look at your messaging, you need to look at all your different marketing channels and promote this well through all those channels and put all that content together to do a strong launch through all your channels at once. Also, a great landing page with a countdown clock and strike-through pricing. We have seen this to be very effective and really boost sales. You may need different software to help accommodate for this. You need to look at that and what software can help you do this. How can you actually make these purchases, sell these things? A lot goes into being able to run this, but you can see that screenshot we'll put up on the screen of what a great landing page can look like to promote these kind of offers. But that great landing page is going to be key to this working. If you just drive them to your home page and make them figure out how to do it on their own, or you just drive them to a generic like gift certificate or checkout page, you may see some success, but you won't see nearly the success you would have seen if you really thought it through and put a plan in place to do this well. A strong but simple offer. A few customers we launched this with created an offer that was so complex it didn't succeed. Like there was just too many terms and conditions, it was too complicated, the value was difficult to really understand, and it just didn't succeed. So having run a lot of these types of campaigns at this point, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 of them at this over the last month, which is a lot for us. It's a strong but simple offer that makes this most effective. You can think about what that offer should be. Just one example there in the screenshot. Well, in the screenshot there's three examples actually, but one example is buy $500, get a $100 bonus. So you're getting $600 when you spend $5 kind of deal. Make it very clear, and I think the strike-through pricing actually makes this a little bit more effective. And I would line those values up to some of the specific properties that you have, and essentially you're giving a discount on an advanced booking is kind of what we're accomplishing here. And then a short time frame to create urgency. You know, if this is something that's going to run over the course of a longer period of time, people will lose attention. There's no urgency to make me have to make a decision and make a purchase now. And by the time that something else happens, I'm going to forget about it. So a short time frame to create urgency, but then I would say have a planned follow-up sale extension. So you're going to have a 3-day sale followed by it was so successful, we're going to have a 2-day promotion on the end of it to extend it because people missed the opportunity kind of thing. So you've planned all that in advance, and you planned your content for that sale extension to come for people that legitimately may have forgotten because they have so much else going on, and you have that opportunity to capture some additional bookings through that sale extension. So those sale extensions have worked very well for us with people that have chosen to run them. So maybe a 3-day sale up front, followed by a 2-day sale extension you announce right after the original sale was just about to close. So you see that trick used in retail all the time, but it can definitely work well for us here. So strategy number 5, gift certificates are the new war bonds. I want you to take a few minutes. We're going to hit pause. I want you to think through what that offer could be. It doesn't have to be $1 or a percentage off, although I think that's the most straightforward and what we've seen the most success with. you could certainly give something else away as part of that, something else that has value that doesn't cost as much as part of that. But think through that, unpack that a little bit, use your workbook to help you think through strategy number 5 here and whether or not this is a good strategy for you. Hit pause, we'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Welcome back from consulting your workbook on strategy number 5. Gift certificates are the new war bonds. Now we're going to dive into strategy number 6, preemptively overcome objections. One of the things we know to be true about vacation rentals and really any purchase behavior, specifically to the vacation rental industry, is that the industry average e-commerce conversion ratio, so the people we see book online, is about 0.4%, so less than 0.5%. We also see on average that people probably get about 50% of their bookings by phone. So let's say that we double that and 1% of people book on any given day. That means 99% of people who come to your website every day are not booking with you, which is a dramatic statistic. E-commerce industry statistics would say that 5% of people that come to your website should start the checkout process. And of that, 1 to 2% will go on to make a booking. Our industry is a little bit lower because it takes a lot of visits to a site typically to find just the right house and the dates and clear it with your whole group and finally make that booking decision. So as an industry, our e-commerce conversion rates tend to be lower than the rest of the e-commerce industry as a whole. That's not necessarily the point. The point I'm trying to get to is that people have objections. 99% of people who come to your website decide not to buy from you. And that's a problem. And that's part of what we want to solve here with overcoming objections. We need to think about why are 99% of our customers not buying from us? And in a time of coronavirus, that could very well increase, right? There's more uncertainty, more unknowns, and unknowns, uncertainty, and fear drive people away from purchasing decisions. So at a high level, that's what we want to overcome here with strategy number 6, increasing traffic and bookings, is overcoming those objections. So I would encourage you to think about, why would someone not book? What would someone's fear of booking a trip to my destination be? And that's going to be a little bit different for everybody. If you're in a beach destination, maybe people are afraid when they get there the destination the beaches won't be open. For years, the ski industry has dealt with fear that I'm going to book a trip and there's not going to be any snow when I get there. That's not an issue right now for most of our ski destinations. But snow insurance has popped up from insurance companies. So if there is no snow, you can get a refund on your vacation. But those are the kind of things. Those things have popped up to overcome the fear people have. So right now, people need to know what your local status is. We talked about making sure you're keeping your website up to date with what's going on from a COVID response perspective in your area. But I would encourage you to have a dedicated page on your website and have a banner or a pop-up on your site that guides people there specifically to help overcome objections, overcome fear and uncertainty that they might have about, should I book or should I not? What's open? Communicate that. What's not? Let's remember that restaurants are a huge part of going on vacation. I've realized how much I can survive without restaurants in my day-to-day life. Fortunately, I have a wife who's a phenomenal cook. Without that, I would probably be struggling to survive right now because I am a terrible cook and I am too lazy to cook. But restaurants are a huge part of the vacation process. So what's open, what's not, who's doing takeout, can we do grocery delivery? Like, educate your consumer about those things, overcome those objections. What about major landmarks and attractions in your areas? What about the beaches? What about hiking trails? What about the mountains? What about mountain biking if you're in a ski destination that does mountain biking in the summer? Communicate those things. As we communicate those things, we set fear at ease. We talked a little bit about that actually in a webinar we did a few weeks ago from a leadership perspective. How do we communicate during coronavirus and really through crisis? And communication becomes more important than ever. Talked about that same thing, how we market through crisis. Communication is key, and that's really what we're talking about here, is communication. Many of you have talked about flexible cancellation policies, and what are you going to do differently with your cancellation policies on the back end of this? As you talk about that, that's a very important thing because you are really managing someone else's asset for them in many cases. I know some of you own your properties, but most of you manage someone else's properties for them. And you're managing their asset. It's their rent money that you're responsible for. We've heard of a great new product from Rental Guardian called Master Cancel that a lot of our customers have been checking out, specifically to protect the rent that you would receive and that your owner would receive as part of a cancellation. So a cool new product that I think has popped up. I think it may have actually been planned before all this happened. I don't know. But check that out because that can be a great way if you're going to change your cancellation policy to be more liberal, if you will, to be more relaxed. At the same point, you need to figure out how we're going to protect ourselves and protect our owners. And then trip insurance. You know, a lot of you are messaging trip insurance and doing different things with that, but consider changing up what you're doing with it, how you message it, how you sell it in light of all of this. Consider offer it as a free add-on with a coupon code. So everybody gets trip insurance with coupon code, blah, blah, blah. So not everybody gets it, only if they put in the coupon code, but it's a free add-on to just set people at ease about if I book and have to cancel, what happens? See if that generates bookings for you. So lots of different things you can do there. What I would say is test it, test it, test it. You've got to test some different things to see what works. We're testing a lot of things, seeing a lot of things that work, some of these that I'm sharing with you here. But the key is not everything works across markets, right? So we'll do something in one market, it'll work great. We'll try it in another market, it won't work at all. So you've got to learn those things in your own market too. But the key from that is test it, test it, test it, and you'll find those things that work for you. All right, let's take a quick pause here. Consult your workbook. Come back in a few minutes. We're deep in the content. Maybe it's time to grab a cup of coffee. Maybe this is way too much information and you need to grab a cup of wine or a beer instead. You're at home. You can do whatever you want. But grab your beverage of choice, consult your workbook, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to wrap up with strategy number 7. All right, strategy number 7, review your analytics today. And you might be like, well, we're talking about strategies to increase traffic and increase bookings. Why would I review my analytics? But I will tell you that this is more important than ever. And as we talk to vacation managers, one of the most common trends we see is they're not in their analytics on a regular basis. They're just trusting someone else to manage it for them, or nobody is managing it and they're missing out on some great opportunities or seeing losses because they're not paying attention to it. But you absolutely need to be reviewing your analytics. And when you review your analytics, a couple of things happen. You'll find success stories. You'll find things that are going well, and you can learn from those things to do more of them. And when you do more of them, you do more things that go well, you increase traffic, you increase bookings, making it very relevant to what's going on here. At the same point, if you're in your analytics and you find things that aren't going well, you can correct those things to increase traffic and increase bookings. And all of us need to know how our website has been impacted from a traffic perspective and bookings perspective as it relates to coronavirus. I've also talked about a lot of data throughout today's session together. And I've talked about timing of data and when things come on and all that kind of stuff. You need to think about those things I've talked about throughout this. Probably need to watch this again and start mapping those things out and then overlaying what I've talked about. The fact that it starts with the governor's announcement. There's a week of traffic increase. Then the bookings start. You need to lay those kind of data points out over top of your analytics to say, okay, where am I in that spectrum? Where am I in seeing those things? Has my governor made the announcement yet? If not, where do I think that's going to be? How am I going to see that? You've got to be spending time in your analytics. I've always spent a ton of time in analytics because I'm a huge geek, spoiler on that one. But I'm spending more time in analytics than I ever have because this data is super interesting to me. And you need to be, if you're responsible for this in your company, you need to be spending a lot of time in analytics right now to understand what's going on and taking some of the data points I've shared with you and applying those as learnings to your own business by consulting your own data. Understanding how COVID has impacted you and understanding where you are on that rebound process is absolutely critical to your success right now. What marketing is working best, what marketing strategies are producing the greatest ROI, all important conversations, all important things for us to be able to answer as part of this. And track it closely to start seeing that traffic rebound. Such a critical part of what we're doing here from a marketing perspective, and it absolutely has to be data-driven. At Q4Launch, one of our core values is to help our customers make data-driven decisions, and as a group to make data-driven decisions on their behalf. And I would say that very much extends out to the industry as a whole. And we want to help you make data-driven decisions as well. So I'm going to consult with you in just a second, or I'm going to connect with you in just a second on how to make those data-driven decisions. But for a quick second, we're going to hit the pause button here on reviewing your analytics, ask you to consult your workbook again, answer some questions in there just to get your juices flowing, and then get into your actual analytics and really see what's going on. Plan to spend a significant amount of time and see if you can figure out where you are on that recovery process based off what your data is telling you. You will be surprised the insights that are hiding inside your data. All right, welcome back from that pause. Hopefully you were in your analytics, hopefully not too long. We're going to come back to that with a deeper dive. One last thing I'm going to say here, if you need help unpacking Google Analytics, I get it. It is incredibly complicated. There's a lot of information. It can be very overwhelming to know where to go to get what information, or you just want to understand how your data benchmarks against some industry standards and averages like the e-commerce conversion rate industry average I shared with you earlier that we see. We're happy to provide that with you. We're happy to help you understand the most important data, the most important key performance indicators. We're happy to help you understand how to use e-commerce data to drive ROI and determine ROI decisions. We're happy to help you turn data into actionable insights. So if you would like help taking that next step and just unpacking that, spending 15 to 30 minutes on the phone together and seeing what insights might be hiding in your analytics, how you benchmark against industry standards, get in touch with us. Simply send us an email at matt@Q4Launch.com and I will follow up with you to schedule some time to look at that analytics together, unpack that, and see what actionable insights might be hiding in your data. 15 to 30 minutes and you'll be blown away what you might be able to learn. Maybe you're thinking back to that Google Ads slide I talked about earlier and some of those average return on ad spends that we see. We're happy to, this is the same kind of analysis we'd be doing there. Spend 10 or 15 minutes looking at Google Ads and give you some high-level information on how that's performing and what you might need to be thinking about doing differently. It's absolutely complimentary, just something we give back to the industry. I do hundreds of them every year. Our staff does even more, but just to help people make data-driven decisions. It's more important than it's ever been. We want to make sure you're positioned to catch this wave of bookings that's going to come on the backside of COVID, and understanding where your data is at is an important part of that. So simply email Matt, M-A-T-T, @Q4Launch.com, and we'll be happy to connect with you on that Google Analytics analysis.